Hey NFL fans, before we dive into today's hottest stories, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an update from NFL News Now. It's been a tough and confusing year for Washington Commanders fans, and for anyone who's followed Terry McLaurin's career since his breakout rookie season. 2025 feels like a gut punch. The wide receiver who built his name on reliability, leadership, and consistent production is now staring down an uncertain stretch that could sideline him for multiple weeks. ESPN's Adam Schefter dropped the news that no one wanted to hear. McLaurin's lingering quad injury has flared up again, and this time it might not be a quick recovery. It's one of those moments where fans can't help but ask themselves, how did we get here? For 4 straight seasons, Terry McLaurin was as durable as they come. He played through minor tweaks, took hits across the middle, and kept showing up every single Sunday. The man was almost an Iron Man for Washington. No matter how ugly the offensive situation got, McLaurin was there, fighting for every yard, every first down, every glimmer of hope in a franchise constantly searching for stability. From the outside looking in, he seemed unbreakable. But football, as it always does, has a cruel way of reminding us that even the toughest players can only take so much. After missing just 3 games in his first 2 years, McLaurin hadn't missed a single matchup in 4 straight seasons. This year, though, everything changed. The 2025 season didn't exactly start on the right note for McLaurin. The Commanders' offense, under a new system that promised explosiveness, struggled to find rhythm in the first 2 weeks. McLaurin's production dipped, not because he'd lost his touch, but because the offensive chemistry just wasn't there yet. Then came the 3rd game, a contest that was supposed to be his get-right moment, and that's when disaster struck. Late in the first half, McLaurin pulled up on a deep route, reaching for his thigh as he slowed to a painful stop. The replay showed it all, a tweak, a grimace, and a sideline filled with concerned faces. It was quickly labeled a quad injury, and the Commanders ruled him out for the rest of the game. At first, the diagnosis didn't seem catastrophic. No surgery was needed, and the early expectation was that he'd miss a couple of weeks. He'll be fine, fans told themselves. It's just a strain. But weeks started passing, and every Friday brought the same frustrating news: Terry McLaurin, out. It became a weekly ritual of false hope, a game of maybe next week. Reporters kept calling it a week-to-week situation, but each update felt more like a reset button than progress. And when the Commanders chose not to place him on injured reserve, it sent a mixed signal. He was healthy enough to avoid IR, but not healthy enough to play. After 4 weeks of this emotional roller coaster, McLaurin finally got the green light to return. Commanders fans held their breath, eager to see their WR1 back in action. And for a moment, it looked like everything was back to normal. McLaurin ran sharp routes, fought through contact, and gave the offense the steadying presence it desperately needed. It was like he never left. But then, late in the game, the familiar sight of him grabbing at that same leg made hearts sink across Washington. The quad had been aggravated again. You could see the frustration on his face. This wasn't just pain, it was disappointment. He knew what it meant. The comeback wasn't going to be that simple. Now, with Adam Schefter reporting that McLaurin could miss multiple weeks, the conversation shifts from optimism to concern. Are the Commanders going to shut him down for a while? Could injured reserve finally be on the table? The phrase multiple weeks is a vague, slippery term in the NFL. Sometimes it means 2, sometimes it means 6, and other times it's the beginning of a lost season. For a player like McLaurin, who turns 30 this year, that uncertainty weighs even heavier. Recovery isn't the same as it used to be, and soft tissue injuries can linger far beyond their original timeline. Meanwhile, the Commanders' receiving core has had to get creative. Deebo Samuel, who has his own history of nagging injuries, has managed to stay on the field, mostly. He missed Week 7 with a heel issue, but has otherwise been the steady hand in McLaurin's absence. That's been huge for the offense, though Samuel's own style of play, physical, aggressive, contact-heavy, makes him a constant injury risk as well. Behind him, the depth chart looks more like a patchwork than a plan. With Noah Brown sidelined on IR, the team has been relying on rookie Jalen Lane, a 4th-round pick who's shown flashes of promise, and Luke McCaffrey, the second-year wideout who's been trying to carve out a role as a reliable slot target. Add in veteran Chris Moore, who stepped up in key downs, And you've got a group of underdogs trying to keep the passing game alive while their leader heals. But let's be honest, there's no replacing Terry McLaurin. His presence isn't just about numbers, it's about tone. He's the guy who lifts a sideline when the team's down 10 in the fourth. He's the one who brings the huddle together, reminds everyone what Commanders football is supposed to mean. Losing that kind of voice hurts just as much as losing his production. And when you combine that with the constant instability this franchise has faced, new coaches, new quarterbacks, new philosophies every few seasons, it starts to feel like McLaurin's reliability was the last bit of continuity fans could count on. This whole situation also raises bigger questions about the Commanders' offensive direction. The coaching staff's decision to let McLaurin play when he might not have been 100% will no doubt be debated for weeks. Was it worth the risk? Did they rush him back too soon because the offense was struggling? These are the kind of tough questions that swirl around teams in turmoil. Injuries happen, yes, but timing, management, and caution all play roles in how a player's season unfolds. It's possible the Commanders believe McLaurin could tough it out like he has in the past. After all, this is a guy who's played through ankle sprains, turf toe, and rib bruises, but a quad injury can be tricky. Push it too soon, and it bites back. And that's exactly what seems to have happened here. The reality now is that the Commanders need to adapt without him, at least for a few more weeks. That means the quarterback, who's also been under fire for inconsistent play, will have to find chemistry with newer faces. It means the offensive coordinator will have to scheme ways to get Samuel and the younger receivers open, spreading the field and finding rhythm. It also means the defense, which has been up and down this year, has to tighten up to give the offense more breathing room. Every phase of the team will feel the ripple effect of McLaurin's absence. For McLaurin himself, the focus shifts to recovery. Knowing the competitor he is, sitting out won't be easy. He's built his career on work ethic and resilience, and that same drive will define his rehab process. Still, you can't help but feel for the guy. The timing couldn't be worse. The Commanders are in the middle of trying to turn the page on years of mediocrity, and McLaurin, their emotional leader, is watching from the sideline, forced to trust his body to cooperate. Fans are hoping this is just a temporary setback, not the start of a slow fade for one of the most respected players in the league. And in the middle of all this drama, there's that viral moment that keeps making the rounds online. The play that made Troy Aikman praise Patrick Mahomes during the Commanders' last primetime broadcast. It's funny how stories overlap in this league. Even as Washington's season spirals into uncertainty, moments like that one remind everyone why they tune in week after week. The unpredictable, heart-stopping nature of football. One play can flip a game, a season, or a career. McLaurin knows that better than anyone. He's had those moments himself. The toe-tapping sideline catches, the acrobatic first downs, the explosive breakaways that leave defenses stunned. That's what fans miss most. The electricity he brings every time he touches the ball. So now, as November rolls in and the Commanders stare down the second half of their season without their star receiver, the story isn't just about injury reports or timelines. It's about resilience. It's about how a team responds when its leader goes down. It's about whether McLaurin can defy the odds one more time and return before this season slips away. And maybe, just maybe, it's about the next man up, the young receiver who steps into the spotlight and surprises everyone. Because in the NFL, nothing stays static for long. One player's setback is another's opportunity. Still, for Washington fans, there's an ache in seeing number 17 on the sidelines, helmet in hand, watching rather than playing. The hope is that when he finally comes back, whether it's 2 weeks or 6, he's fully healthy, not just fighting through pain. Because when Terry McLaurin is right, few players in football are more dependable, more inspiring, or more fun to watch. The Commanders need him. The fans need him. And honestly, the league's just better when he's out there making plays. Keep watching as we analyze more details about some rumors. Shockwaves are rippling through the NFL as the clock struck midnight, and what was merely a whisper in the league corridors has erupted into a full-blown frenzy. Chase Young, the defensive prodigy whose name has been synonymous with edge-rushing dominance since his draft days, is officially returning to Washington, D.C., in a lightning-fast trade that has left fans, analysts, and rival teams reeling. The Commanders, long seen as a team in search of identity and defensive firepower, have pulled off a deal that insiders are already calling audacious. Audacious not just because of Young's talent, but because of the speed and secrecy with which it was executed. Sources close to the situation suggest that the trade talks moved from speculation to agreement in a matter of hours, catching even the league's front offices off guard, and leaving social media ablaze with theories, hot takes, and the kind of excitement that only a blockbuster NFL move can generate. Chase Young, a player who has alternated between brilliance and injury woes, seems to be finding his way back to the city that initially believed in him with the second overall pick. His return is more than a transaction. It is a statement. For the Commanders, who have struggled to establish a fearsome pass rush, bringing back Young signals not only a commitment to defensive excellence, but a bold message to the rest of the league. Washington is here to compete, and it is not afraid to shake things up in dramatic fashion. Analysts are already dissecting what this means for the team's defensive schemes, how it affects their salary cap, and what kind of ripple effect it might create across the NFC East. The timing, at the stroke of midnight, adds an almost cinematic flair to the saga, a reminder that in the NFL, deals are made not just on spreadsheets and scouting reports, but in the shadows of strategy, speculation, and, sometimes, sheer audacity. The rumors leading up to this moment had been swirling for weeks, with every reporter, insider, and former player weighing in with their predictions and conjecture. Yet, despite the chatter, few expected the deal to materialize in such a rapid-fire fashion. The specifics of the trade remain closely guarded, but sources indicate it involved multiple moving parts, draft picks, considerations for cap flexibility, and perhaps even players whose names will come to define this offseason. Fans of the Commanders are ecstatic, flooding forums, social media, and comment sections with a mixture of relief and jubilation, seeing a potential cornerstone of their defense return home. Meanwhile, rival teams are left scrambling, calculating how Young's reintegration might tilt the balance of power in the division, forcing quarterbacks, offensive coordinators, and even fantasy football enthusiasts to reassess their projections for the season ahead. Chase Young's journey back to DC has been a roller coaster of highs and lows, with moments of sheer dominance punctuated by frustrating injuries that limited his availability. Yet, those who have watched his film, studied his technique, and tracked his development know that when healthy, Young is one of the most disruptive forces in the NFL. His ability to bend the edge, chase down quarterbacks, and change the trajectory of games in a single play makes him a rare talent, and the Commanders' front office appears to have recognized that value and acted decisively to reclaim it. The implications are enormous. Suddenly, Washington has a player capable of altering opposing game plans, drawing double teams, and creating opportunities for teammates in ways that could transform a middling defense into one that is genuinely fearsome. Analysts are already projecting scenarios in which Young's presence reshapes the Commanders' defensive alignment, possibly influencing everything from coverage schemes to blitz packages, and injecting a sense of unpredictability that could make Washington a nightmare for offenses across the league. The human element of the story cannot be overlooked. Chase Young returns to a city and a fan base that has followed his career closely, celebrated his successes, and felt the sting of his setbacks. There is an emotional resonance here, a narrative of homecoming, redemption, and unfinished business. Rumors suggest that Young himself was intrigued by the possibility of returning, drawn not only by the football opportunity, but by the sense of unfinished narrative that DC represents in his career. Teammates and coaches have reportedly expressed excitement at the prospect, recognizing not just the talent Young brings, but the leadership and intensity he can inject into a locker room hungry for competitiveness and identity. For fans, it's more than a roster move. It's a story, a saga, and a source of hope that the team can finally achieve the kind of defensive dominance that has eluded them in recent seasons. Social media has been ablaze since the news broke, with highlight reels, memes, and debates flooding every platform. Former players have chimed in, analysts are reworking their power rankings, and the rumor mill is already spinning with speculation about what this could mean for other teams. Will this trade trigger a wave of defensive signings across the league? Could it inspire rival teams in the NFC East to make bold moves of their own? The implications are both immediate and long-term. Some insiders suggest that Young's return could be the catalyst for a reimagined Commanders roster, one that blends youth and experience with a renewed focus on defensive identity. Others note the financial and contractual intricacies involved, highlighting the gamble inherent in acquiring a player with injury history but unmatched talent. The narrative is rich, multi-layered, and unfolding in real time, the kind of story that sports media lives for, especially when it has all the elements of suspense, surprise, and high-stakes drama. What makes this deal particularly riveting is the combination of timing, secrecy, and sheer impact. Midnight trades are rare, and ones involving marquee talents like Chase Young are rarer still. The optics are perfect, a city awakening to the news, fans buzzing in disbelief and delight, and analysts rushing to update projections and breaking down every possible strategic implication. There is also a sense of anticipation building around the first time Young dons the Commanders' uniform again, whether in practice, training camp, or the opening game of the season. Will he immediately reclaim his dominant form? Can the team integrate him smoothly into schemes that have evolved in his absence? Questions abound, but the buzz is undeniable. Social feeds are filled with speculation. GIFs of past highlight moments are resurfacing, and the collective excitement is reminiscent of the kind of blockbuster signing that transcends sports and becomes a cultural moment in its own right. For Washington, this is more than a trade. It's a statement of ambition, a signal that the team is willing to act decisively, take calculated risks, and make bold moves to reshape its identity. For Chase Young, it is a chance to rewrite his narrative, to return to the city that drafted him, and to showcase the level of dominance that made him one of the most feared young pass rushers in recent memory. For the league, it's a reminder that in the NFL, fortunes can change overnight, deals can materialize in secretive whispers, and a single player can become the center of a maelstrom of speculation, analysis, and excitement. Rumors suggest that this is only the beginning, that the domino effect of Young's return could influence upcoming trades, free agency decisions, and even draft strategies, as teams scramble to adjust to a landscape suddenly reshaped by one man's homecoming. The midnight announcement has left the entire sports world buzzing, from casual fans to diehard followers. The narrative writes itself. A young phenom returns home, a team signals its intent to contend, and the league braces for the strategic chaos that is sure to follow. Speculation will continue, pundits will weigh every angle, and fans will debate endlessly whether this is the turning point the Commanders have been seeking for years. Meanwhile, Chase Young's journey resumes in the city that has never stopped believing in him, under the bright lights of a franchise eager to reclaim prominence. The Midnight Shock has become the story of the offseason, a tale of talent, timing, and tantalizing possibilities, and the ripple effects will be felt for months to come, both on and off the field, as the NFL prepares to witness the next chapter in the saga of Chase Young and the Washington Commanders. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like this video and share it with your fellow NFL fans. Stay tuned for more updates, only here on NFL News Now.